Good morning, all of you. Today we are going to talk about psychological disorder, chapter 1, session 3. Session 3 related to DSM 5 and ICD 11. So these are the mental classification of mental disorder we have to learn here. Learning objective to understand the various systems of classification of mental disorder. So what are the various system classification are there in mental disorder? We have to learn here and understand the classification system. Session outcomes. After learning this session, students should understand the various system of classification of mental disorder. Then importance of DSM 5 and ICD 11. Prerequisites. Abnormal psychology deals with various system of classifications. So DSM 5 and ICD 11. DSM 5 given by APA, that is American Psychological Association. ICD 11 given by WHO, World Health Organization. So these are the systems of classification of mental disorder. So this is a prerequisites. Coming to the system of classification of mental disorder, as we know, we have to study DSM 5 and ICD 10 classification system here. So what are the systems of classification of mental disorder? So there are two systems in classification of mental disorder. One is DSM 5 given by APA. What is DSM? DSM, which is nothing but the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. ICD 11 given by WHO. ICD means the International Classification of Disease. So this is known as DSM 5 and ICD 11. ICD 11. So this is two systems related to the classification of mental disorder. Similarities of DSM 5 and ICD 11. What are the similarities? Comes under both. So both are authoritative guidebooks for medical professionals to use for the diagnosis. So both have authoritative, both have authoritative power, and they help us to the medical professionals to use the diagnosis or identify the disorder. Diagnosis, which is nothing but identify the disorder. So both are used for the treatment of disease and disorders. If any mental disorder, any psychological disorder, both are useful for treatment. The third one, the DSM solely focused on mental health concerns, and the ICD covers all parts of the body and mind. So DSM concerned about mental health. What are the mental disorder? It is concerned only mental health issues. But ICD covers all parts of the body as well as mind. If we have physiological disorder, a psychological disorder, both are covers from ICD 11. DSM 5. We can go for what is DSM, what is DSM 5, any meaning about that. We should know about that. Mental disorder. Before go for DSM and ICD, we should understand the meaning of mental disorder. The mental disorder is very important. Mental disorder is defined as a syndrome that is present in an individual that involves clinically significant disturbance in behavior, emotion regulation, or cognitive functioning. First slide I have told you, it is clinically significant disturbance in our emotions, in our behavior, in our cognitive functions that can lead to the mental disorder. So there are various types of mental disorder given by American Psychiatric Association. They developed DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. So based on this, we have to learn the different mental disorders. Third one, this manual commonly referred to as the DSM. This Diagnostic Statistical Manual Mental Disorder. We can call it as a DSM. It is a revised version and updated from time to time. It is always revised and updated time to time. 10 years once it is printed, and it is developed from 10 years once. The current version we can call it as a DSM 5. It was published in 2013. So we have DSM 1, DSM 2, DSM 3 and DSM 4 and DSM 4 TR. So this is a final version and modified version of DSM 4 TR, that is called as a DSM 5. We have history of this DSM 5. So DSM 5 can be divided into three sections. DSM classification, DSM 5 classification of mental disorder. DSM 5 can be divided into three sections. Section 1 we can call it as a DSM 5 basics. So DSM 5 basics we can call it as a section 1. In this section, harmonization with ICD systems, non-axial documentation of diagnosis, dimensional assessment, changes in diagnostic criteria, non-axial system like axis 1, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have different axes, axis 1, axis 2, axis 3, axis 4, axis 5, like that. In different axes, different mental disorder can be mentioned. So this basic structure comes under section 1. Section 2 talks about diagnostic criterion and codes. Some of the mental disorder we have criteria. Based on criteria we can classify the disorder and we can give the codes also. DSM 5 give the codes for that particular mental disorder. So this is comes under section 2. It covers the diagnostic categories. Section 3 related to emerging measures and modules on an appendix. It includes conditions that need additional research, glossary of terms, other important information comes under section 3. So these are the three sections comes under DSM 5 classification. So the DSM covers all categories of mental health disorders for both adults as well as children. It contains descriptions, symptoms, other criteria necessary for diagnosing mental health disorders. It also contains statistics concerning which gender is most affected by the illness, the typical age onset and the effects of treatment, common treatment approaches. So it includes all these factors. So this is regarding DSM 5. So as I told you, DSM start from DSM 1 to DSM 5. The updated version we can call it as a DSM 5. It is developed on 2013. So this is the revised version of DSM 4 Coming to the ICD 11. ICD 11. We have to learn ICD 1 to ICD 10. This is the modification version of ICD 11. ICD, which means that it stands for International Classification of Disease. In 11th edition of mental disorder known as a ICD 11. It is a global categorization system for physical and mental illness published by the World Health Organization. The WHO introduced or developed this ICD 11. It also includes physical as well as mental illness. The new version of the ICD was released on June 18, 2018. The purpose of the ICD is to allow the systematic recording, analysis, interpretation and comparison of mortality and morbidity data collected in different countries or areas and at different times. So it gives the interpretation, recording, analyze the mental disorder and give different information related to the mental disorder. The ICD is used for translate diagnosis of disease and other health problems into alphanumeric code which allows storage, retrieval, analysis of the data. So it diagnoses the disease, identify the disease and other health problem. It give and also gives the code and storage carefully and retrieval. When we need, we can analyze the data of that particular mental disorder. Classification of mental disorder, development of ICD level has been the most global, multilingual and multidisciplinary and participative revision process. The ICD 11 mortality and morbidity statistics should be used by all member states of the health statistics. The major innovation like the incorporation of the lifespan approach, integration of the dimensional approach, inclusion of culture related information, inclination toward the biological approach along with effort destigmatization obviously strengthen its structure. So this is the importance of ICD. So what are the needs and usage of ICD 11? We coming to the needs and usage of ICD 11. Mortality by age, sex, cause of death and foundation of public health globally in countries comparably comparable mortality statistics over time. So we need to comparably, we know, we need to find out the public health globally in all countries. We can use the ICD 11. Sustainable Development Goals, that is called as the SDG. In 2016 to 2013, nearly dozen mortality by causes, targets and indicators. What are the causes related to the mortality? So we know the statistics, we have to use the ICD. Morbidity statistics, incidence and prevalence are also essential foundation for public health. We know the prevalence of the mental disorder, we can use the ICD 11. Need for simplified list and tools. It is give the as much as simplest codes and simplest tools can be used in ICD 11. It is also useful for clinical research. If any clinical research or medical research is there, it is too useful for the clinical research. So this is related to DSM 5 as well as and DSM 5 and ICD 11. So this is general information, basic information related to that particular classification system. We can summarize the session. DSM 5 covers all categories of mental health disorders for both adults and children. DSM 5 contains description, symptoms and other criteria necessary for diagnosing mental health disorder. A major focus of the ICD 11 is improved utility, feasibility and reliability, thereby adapting to both clinical and statistical needs of a variety of user groups. And also one more thing, it is very useful, ICD 11 is very useful for physical as well as mental illness, treatment of physical as well as mental illness. So this is the classification system of these two, DSM 5 and ICD 11 is the classification system of the mental disorder. We can go for the question and answer session. The first question, DSM stands Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. It is true or false? The answer is true. Second question, ICD stands for ABC. You have four options: intentional classification disease, international classification disease, invention classification disease, internal classification disease. So the answer is international classification disease. Answer is B. The third one, DSM 5 includes three sections, true or false? It is a true. ICD 11 developed by APA, true or false? False. The current version called DSM 5 was published in 2013, true or false? True. So this is regarding DSM 5 and ICD 11. Thank you all.